This was my mother's house where she was born, actually, which belonged to her father, and which is more likely a house which was built around the beginning of the or middle of the 18th century. It's an old stone house, you know, small, unpretentious house. So she was born and raised here as a little girl, and there is a large garden around with lots of flowers and about 2 or 3 acres of land around the house, and a little creek where we could go and catch trouts, which is just down the hill. This is my mother elementary school, where she was from 1905-06 until 1915, maybe 1916. And as you see, it's an old stone building. And after this school, she went to a college nearby in Valognes, which is a larger town where they have, of course, better education. And afterwards, she went to England, where she was teaching French, and that's why she was speaking such a good English. Okay, this is our family house where we are living on D-Day, actually. I mean, my parents and my 2 brothers. And as you can see, it was front row seats to watch what was happening on the square on June 6, 1944. I mean, we were right in the middle of the action. So we lived here for all our life, and as a matter of fact, this is my parents' bedroom was right there on the first floor. You know, on the morning of June 6, 1944, from these windows, my parents and my brothers could watch the paratroopers who were sitting and smoking under the trees at sunrise, and they would guess that they were soldiers, but they did not know if they were Americans or if they were British. And so it was quite a sight to see after the dangerous house in the night, that it was very quiet at that time, for a few hours only. Here we are right across from the pharmacy. We are just 20 yards from the pharmacy. So we are right near the church, and it shows exactly where John Steele landed on the steeple on this side of the church, the famous site of John Steele, which you see in the Longest Day. Here we are at the Bob Murphy Street, which is dedicated after one of the famous airborne veterans, who is a regular to Sainte Mère Église. And we have also the Eisenhower Street and the General Gavin Street and the 505th Regiment of the 82nd Airborne Street. So you see, it's the small town of Sainte Mère Église is really remembering in every way the what the Americans did for us. The house behind me actually was the command post of the Germans here, where the German officer was commanding Sainte Mère Église was located, which, as you can see, is right 100 yards from the church and very close to the house which was actually burning, where in the middle of which a paratrooper fell right in the fire and exploded with his ammunition in front of the firemen and people who were trying to extinguish the fire. And so the Germans actually came from here to go to see what was going on, and then when they saw the paratroopers landing on the square in the trees, they were right also in the middle of the action, and that's where they shot the American paratroopers in the trees of the main square. Okay, this place where I'm here standing now is where the temporary cemetery number 1 was taking place, where 3,000 graves were erected, and it brings to me a lot of memories of what happened and when I was a child, because I was coming here with my mother to lay flowers on this ground on the graves of these soldiers who had been killed on D-Day and the days after. And it's a very moving spot for me to be walking on this sacred ground, which I would say unfortunately has been turned on as a football stadium. And I mean, we spent so many hours and coming from the house which was nearby to attend the graves and lay the flowers with my mother on these graves. So it's a very moving, actually it's a very, very moving place for me. And it brings a lot of memories back. And it's so sad to see all these young men who were actually coming like from the States, 17, 18, 20 years old, who were killed there, and most of them, they did not even have time to know what country they were in, and they were shot and dead, and they were staying in this big cemetery, because actually it was very much bigger than what you see here. There were tall trees, and there were graves all around the place here. So it's very moving, very moving, very moving sacred ground. Okay, this is the church of Sainte Mère Église, which was actually started to be built around the 11th century, 11th and 12th century, about William the Conqueror time. And the stained glass window which you see is actually the only stained glass window in the world with paratroopers on. And it was designed by my brother, Paul Renaud, when he was around 18 years old, to the request of my father. And because the stained glass window which was there before the war was destroyed on D-Day with the blow-up of the shells. So they did this beautiful stained glass window, which is blue and red, with the paratroopers falling down on each side of the Virgin Mary. And it is made to honor the memory of those who came to liberate Normandy, Sainte Mère Église, and France, which means, of course, the American paratroopers. On this stained glass window, you see distinctively the paratroopers falling down, and the planes which were above them with the engines running, of course, and the various colors of the different parachutes, because you know they use different colors for ammunition, for material, for Red Cross and everything. So you see all these kind of different aspects of the battle, and I think it's a very beautiful, very well done stained glass window, and the colors are really absolutely magic. In The Longest Day, the scenes which you actually see around the movie The Longest Day were done in the church. I mean, they in and out of the church, and the house which was burning was Sabotage one more time.
Tell us about the bells. They go on.
Do you remember? Did the bells go on? Did they go on a lot during the night on June 6th?
Yeah, they were ringing.
See, this is what John Steele heard.
Yes, it's exactly what they heard. But they were using the bells to call the firemen too. When there was no siren at that time. The bells were calling the firemen. They used the very short thing which means alert, you know. So that the same bells, but they do it very quick. In this church, my mother was coming, for mass on Sundays, and also she was the funeral took place in this church as well as for my father. There was a big funeral, and both of them, the funeral took place in this church. In this cemetery number 2, that's where the grave of General Theodore Roosevelt Jr. was, and where we had many times, we were bringing flowers to his grave with my mother. And in fact, this is where the picture from the Life magazine, published in August 1944, was made, where my mother is kneeling on the grave of the general. Together with General Theodore Roosevelt Jr., there were 5,000 graves of American soldiers who lost their lives here. And my mother was bringing flowers to as many of these graves as she could, and no matter what the rank of the soldier was. I mean, it could be a private, or it could be an officer, or it could be a general. It did not matter to her. I mean, each one of them was as important as any top officer who got killed here. Here we got the, still some storage room where we have few items left of my parents. This is a dress which from my mother, and this is a little drawing, painting which was given to us by a veteran, with the church and the house burning in the back and the paratroopers falling all around the town. That's it. So here we get 1944 vintage D-Day parachutes, which my brothers found in some of the fields around here, and we kept few. You see, that's a complete parachute with the suspenders. That's another one here. This is the one, the safety parachute, the one they used in case their main chute would not happen. That's the one here. So they have to pull this red handle. That's another one here. So these two were found here in the field near Sainte Mère Église or around. With some ammunition bag. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and paratrooper bag. Anyway, if we move down here, you can see my brothers found this water-cooled German machine gun in a ditch here, and we kept it. So it's right there. You know, that's soldiers' water tanks, and here you have several German helmets, American helmet. This one, unfortunately, has a hole right in the helmet, and I'm afraid the poor guy who was wearing it got killed. And this is a German helmet which has a big shrapnel in the back. And probably this guy also probably got killed too. So that's a gas mask here, a German gas mask, and a piece of shell. A sign which was displayed by the American Army, which says "Road shoulders cleared of mines." So there were lots of mines around. This is also a sign, a German sign with the death head and the Achtung Minen. That means there were mines all around the place. And further here, we got various equipment of military material. What should I say? Oh, you know, it's a big shells of bomb shells. I think that must be 8 caliber German. And German boots, a pair of German boots here. That's a big, heavy caliber shell. And this is American telephone wire that they used to put across, you know, for communication. And we have a holster of a revolver. Or pistol here.
Maurice, what about this down here? These are plexiglass gliders?
Yes, they were from gliders or aircraft which crashed in or near the small airport. We had the military air force, and when we were kids, we were going to play with this. Matter of fact, a lot of people used this to replace their glass windows, because it was very hard to get glass windows after the war. So there were a lot of those laying around in the fields, and we would use them. Yes, we had. Matter of fact, we used that in the apartment above the pharmacy where we lived. We used it to replace the glass windows, and it remained there for quite many years. And I still remember that very, very well. So we had a bunch of them. Now this is equipment they had for the paratroopers. There were some inflatable boats here. That's one, but it's all, you know, that's a very old one, and they used it as, you know, to how do you call it? You know, to move in the water. They use it as oars. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, that was what they used. It was very ingenious and very light, so they could drop it by parachute. Okay, this is a glider, you know, for to tow the glider. They used these ropes between the plane which was pulling the glider, and you see there is this black wire. There was a communication line between the glider and the airplane. So that's quite a rope. It's quite fantastic. It's very long too. That's two more German helmets, and yeah. Well, that's really original helmets, that's for sure. Okay, here we have again. This is well, you know, they use different colors parachutes according to what they were sending. So some had like red was for ammunition, and white was for pharmaceutical and medical equipment, and yellow, like this one here, was for I don't remember exactly which, but so they could identify from the color of the chute what was in the tank, which was below, so they could just go after it when they would know. That's all. I don't see anything. What is it? That's fake.
How about this uniform?
That's American, yeah. Yeah, this uniform here is U.S. Army. U.S. Army 1944. Vintage. Yeah. Yeah, there are some jackets which we were wearing. Oh. We wore those uniforms when we were, you know, getting older. Yeah, it's very precious for us because it's some very personal items which my father received or was using all the time. So, for instance, we have these glasses here, which was glasses, and he always had this knife in his pocket, which he used during World War I when he was a soldier in the machine gun platoon in the Battle of Verdun and in Belgium. I mean, it was dreadful, terrible war. So he carried that all the time. And also, when we went to United States in 1963, he received in various cities the keys of the town, and this is the keys given to him by the mayor of Wilmington, North Carolina. Yeah, that's a little. Yeah, that's a little agate box where we kept his little bit of his hair in the box here. Yeah, it's very nice. It's a beautiful little box. And here are his decorations. So. Okay, this is the French Legion of Honor, which he received after World War II. This is the Croix de Guerre, which is a war cross. It's a very high distinction with 3 stars. She received during World War I for his battle there. And this is a Medal of Freedom, which he received from the U.S. government. Very, very few civilians in France received it. I think about only 80 Frenchmen received this very high, prestigious Medal of Freedom. And this is a cross of the Battle of Verdun, where he was. And yeah, well, this is a medal he received as mayor of Sainte Mère Église, and this is a medal he received later on from the European organization. So that's well-deserved medals. That's for sure. Well-deserved medals. Oh yeah, that's his last pack of cigarettes. He was smoking this Gauloise Disque Bleu, so that was his last pack of cigarettes. Yeah, I wrote it down myself. Last pack from Daddy. We called him Daddy. So,
Show me your writing.
yeah, here. Last pack, Daddy. Can you believe it? Okay, so that's I don't know who this is. How come? I don't know. Okay, then. Oh yeah, this is the name tag he was wearing when he was invited in 1963 at the 101st Airborne Division Convention in San Francisco. That was his first and only trip to America. That was on Union Square. Yeah, that's a picture of my father. That's when we were in Wilmington, North Carolina. Yeah, I think it's a very good picture of him. It really, you know, he was, he had a great sense of humor, and he was always smiling. Very cool person.
Can you pick up the 82nd badge and tell us what that is? The one right there on the picture. On the cigarettes there, a little badge. Yeah, right there. Tell us what that is.
Yeah. Okay, this is a badge. That was the on the same trip when we went. Oh yeah, look. That's a badge he received to attend also the 82nd Airborne Convention. And it says, "To my good friend Alexandre Renaud." And here is, that's quite exciting, the card from John Steele. And we stayed with him in his house. John Steele, the paratrooper who landed on the steeple. So you see his phone number and so on. So, what else could I show you?
What about his book?
Yeah, that's the this book is the first one, the first edition of the book, which took place. Sainte Mère Église is the name of the book. But the first edition, it was published in 1945. Published in 1945, and as a matter of fact, it was the first book published on about D-Day, which was published about D-Day. It was the first one. At that time, it was not translated in English, but now we did translate it in English, and it's a different edition. We're still selling the book. I'll show you the yeah, this is another medal which he received. It's called the Mérite National, and it's for his work as a writer and as the mayor of Sainte Mère Église. Well, that's a little present from the veterans. You know, tie. You fix it on the tie, and it's with the 82nd Airborne insignia right there. It's handcuffs.
All these things were important to your dad, how these memorabilia with 82nd,
Sure.
101st.
Yeah, they were. They were.
And he kept them all these years, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he passed them on.
Now that's the symbolic key of Charleston, South Carolina, given by the mayor of Charleston to my dad. It's a very mini key, but it's symbolic, and it's a nice little gesture. We had a great reception there from the mayor. You know, this is to open letters. That was made with a bullet, and it's from World War I. And he kept this, and it's written here. You may not see it, but it's written Verdun, V-E-R-D-U-N, which was a horrible battle of Verdun, where about 500,000 men, Germans and French, got killed. So he was there. Not a very good place to be, and that was a little souvenir of that. That's it. I've seen everything. So this is a new edition of my father's book, which was bestseller for 3 years in France, 1945, 46, and 47. And which we translated in English with a lot of very most interesting pictures, some which have never been published. This is General Maxwell Taylor here, General Eisenhower, General Gavin, General Ridgway, and all kinds of documents. This is in front of the pharmacy, first paratroopers in front of the pharmacy during the battle, on the square, and this is a classic picture which is reproduced everywhere. A guy laying down in front of the city sign. Well, anyway, it's the most interesting book, and he was a very, very good writer. It's very interesting to read. It's a real document. And in fact, Cornelius Ryan, who wrote the book, The Longest Day, and the movie The Longest Day was made after Cornelius Ryan, spent quite a long time with my father asking him all the details of what happened here, and he was that's why he was a very accurate writer, and everything he said there, every detail is absolutely confirmed and verified. So it's really worth to read this book.
Today, on the anniversary of D-Day, from June 6, 1944, and now it's 2005, 61 years later, to pay homage to Mayor Alexandre Renaud, and who was the mayor on D-Day. He lived here through the German occupation, was a pharmacist here, and he saw what was going on here, and a great soldier in World War I. So he was a soldier. He knew what war was, and he treated us excellent for the soldiers that were here on D-Day in the town of Sainte Mère Église. So later, he wrote a book. He was one of the first historians in writing a book with great accuracy. So we're here today to pay homage to Mayor Alexandre Renaud, who was very, very friendly with the Americans, and of course his wife, Madame Renaud, are the two most responsible people for welcoming the soldiers back to Sainte Mère Église.
This morning we are at the cemetery of Saint-Germain-Tournebu, which is a small town in Normandy, very small country town, and where my mother, Simone Renaud, was born in 1899, and she was buried here in this cemetery with this church from the 11th century, from William the Conqueror time. She's buried here with my father, who died in 1966, and she died in 1988. And we are very honored that this morning we'll have American airborne veterans who are going to come and pay their respects to the grave and lay flowers on their grave in their memory, which is very touching for us.
It's an honor to be here at the final resting place of Mayor and Simone Renaud, dear friends of all of us, personally and as veterans. We come here with memories of happiness during their lives and great events as well. With the communion of history we shared with them, and I've been here before, but I've never tired to come back here again and pay my own respects and the respects of my family to these marvelous people. And all I can say to them now is thank you. Thank you for history. Thank you for being wonderful friends, and rest in peace.
I came here today to honor Mayor Renaud and Madame Renaud. Now I can tell you in 1961 we first returned, a few of us, Bill Tucker, myself, and Del Senor, we first returned to this famous town of Sainte Mère Église. We had never been back here since the war, and we were invited to have lunch with the Mayor and Madame Renaud, and we talked with her and she welcomed us, and she was just a wonderful, wonderful person. And when Johnny Lee and I told her that in 1961 when we visited, we were skydivers and would like to come back on the 20th anniversary and drop in on you, she thought it was a fantastic idea. She said that she would make all the arrangements, which she did. And on June 6, 1964, the 20th anniversary of D-Day, with the great help of Mayor Douceman of Nouvelle Plaine, we made the jump, and Madame Renaud and the Mayor were very, very happy. And since that time, and almost every year since then, with Yves Tariel, my comrade and president of the French Parachute League, we had continuously jumped here. I want to thank and let history know that Madame Renaud and the Mayor Renaud were the people responsible for having the people of Normandy thank Americans, and they are totally, totally different, and they welcome the Americans. And Madame Renaud and Mayor Renaud, I give you honor, and I'm pleased to come back and place flowers on your reposing grave. And to the Mayor, a soldier in World War I, we salute you.